The stagecoach lurched to a stop in front of the Twin Falls General Store, and when the door swung open, Sarah Foster emerged like a ghost made of prairie dirt and desperation, so covered in trail dust that the men loitering on the porch couldn't tell if her dress had ever been any particular color at all. Adam Ellison looked up from the wagon wheel he was repairing across the street, his hand stilling on the spoke as he watched her stumble down the steps. Most of the men were already turning away, dismissing her as just another worn-down traveler, probably broke, probably trouble. But Adam saw something else entirely. Beneath the layers of Idaho dust and exhaustion, he saw the way she held her shoulders back, despite obvious fatigue, the determined set of her jaw, the fire still burning in eyes that caught the afternoon sunlight like amber. She swayed on her feet, one hand gripping the stagecoach door, and Adam was moving before he consciously decided to, his long legs covering the distance between them in seconds. He reached her just as her knees buckled. "Easy now," he said, his arm catching her around the waist. Up close, he could see the sunburn on her cheeks, the cracked lips, the way her eyelashes were caked with dust. "When did you last eat?" "I am fine," she said, but her voice was hoarse and thin, and she was leaning her full weight against him whether she meant to or not. "I just need to find work." "The boarding house, perhaps they need help with laundry or cooking or anything. What you need is water and food and a place to sit down." Adam guided her toward the general store, ignoring the curious stares from the porch sitters. "Then we can worry about work." She tried to pull away. "I cannot pay you. Did I ask you to?" He pushed open the door, the bell jingling overhead. "Martha, bring some water and whatever food you have ready." Martha Chen, who ran the store with her husband, took one look at Sarah and hurried toward the back. Adam settled Sarah into the chair they kept near the counter, where Martha usually sat when minding the store during slow hours. "I do not take charity," Sarah said, but her eyes followed Martha's movements with desperate hunger. "It is not charity. It is basic human decency." Adam crouched down so he was at eye level with her. "I am Adam Ellison. I run the livery stable and do wagon repairs. You are new to Twin Falls, and that means you do not know yet that we take care of our own around here. I am not your own, I just arrived. You are here now. That is enough." He accepted the cup of water from Martha and held it out. "Drink." Slowly. She took the cup with trembling hands, and Adam noticed how fine her fingers were beneath the dirt, how they shook with more than just exhaustion. This was a woman running from something, not just traveling through. Martha brought bread and cheese and sliced apples, and Sarah ate with the careful control of someone who wanted to devour everything but refused to appear desperate. Adam stayed crouched beside her, studying her face as the food brought a little color back to her cheeks. "What brings you to Twin Falls?" he asked. She finished chewing before answering, her manners still intact despite her obvious hardship. "I need a fresh start. I am a hard worker. I can sew, cook, clean, keep books. I taught school for 2 years back in Missouri." Running from something or someone, her hand froze halfway to her mouth with a piece of apple. "That is forward. This is a small town. If someone is going to come looking for you, we should know about it." She set down the apple and met his eyes directly. Hers were green. He realized now that some of the dust had been wiped away by her drinking water, a deep forest green that reminded him of the mountains in summer. "My husband," she said quietly. "My late husband, I should say. He died 3 months ago. His brother believes I should marry him now to keep everything in the family. I disagreed. I left before he could force the matter." Adam felt anger flare hot in his chest. "Did he hurt you?" he tried. She touched her left wrist absently, and Adam saw the faint yellow remnants of a bruise. "I left that night. I have been traveling ever since, working where I could, moving when I had to. I heard Idaho Territory was growing, that places like Twin Falls needed people. I thought perhaps I could disappear into a new life. What was your husband's name, the one who died? Thomas Foster. And his brother is Richard Foster. But they are from Missouri, and I doubt very much Richard would follow me this far. He is not a man who likes discomfort, and the journey west is nothing if not uncomfortable. Adam stood, his decision made. The school teacher here, Mrs. Patterson. She is getting on in years. Been saying she wants to retire, but the town has not found a replacement. If you can prove you know your letters and numbers, I imagine the town council would be happy to interview you. Just like that, Sarah stared at him. You do not know me. I could be lying about everything. Could be, Adam agreed, but I do not think you are. Call it instinct. He smiled at her, and something shifted in her expression, a tiny crack in her defensive walls. Besides, you have the look of a teacher. My mother was one. She had that same way of sitting up straight no matter how tired she was. Had, Sarah asked softly, died 5 years ago. Fever took her quick. Adam pulled some coins from his pocket and set them on the counter for Martha. Get yourself a room at the boarding house. Tell Mrs. Donnelly that I sent you and that I will vouch for you until you get your first wages. Tomorrow morning, meet me at the church. I will introduce you to Mrs. Patterson and Reverend Cole. He is on the town council. Sarah stood slowly, and now that she had water and food in her, she was steadier. She was also taller than he had realized, nearly reaching his shoulder. Why are you helping me? Adam considered the question. He could tell her it was just neighborliness, just the way things were done in small towns. But something in her direct gaze demanded honesty. Because when you stepped off that stagecoach, covered in dust and barely able to stand, you still had your head up, he said. Because you are clearly running from something bad, but you are running towards something better, not just away. And because I know what it is like to need a fresh start. She studied his face for a long moment, and he let her look, let her see whatever she needed to see to trust him. Finally, she nodded. Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Adam, he corrected. Mr. Ellison was my father. The smallest smile touched her lips. Adam, I am Sarah. Sarah Foster, though I would just as soon drop the Foster part if I could. Give it time. In a place like Twin Falls, you can be whoever you want to be. The past does not have to follow you here. He walked her to the boarding house, carrying her single worn carpet bag that the stagecoach driver handed down. It was pathetically light, containing what he guessed was probably only 2 or 3 changes of clothes and maybe a few personal items. Everything she owned in the world carried in one small bag. Mrs. Donnelly, a widow who had run the boarding house for 15 years, took one look at Sarah and immediately shifted into mothering mode. Oh, honey, you look like you have been dragged behind a horse. Come on, let me show you to a room. There is a bathhouse out back, and I will heat some water for you. Mrs. Donnelly, I need to be honest about my situation, Sarah started, but the older woman waved her hand dismissively. Adam vouched for you, and that is good enough for me. His word is gold in this town. You get yourself cleaned up and rested, and we will worry about the details tomorrow. She looked at Adam. You did good bringing her here. She is about to fall over. I will come by tomorrow morning, Adam said to Sarah. Around 9, after you have had a chance to rest properly. I will be ready. Sarah met his eyes again, and this time her smile was fuller, more genuine. Thank you, truly. Walking back to his livery stable as the sun began its descent toward the mountains, Adam found himself smiling for no particular reason. Or maybe for a very particular reason, one he was not quite ready to examine too closely yet. His assistant, a young man named Peter who was good with horses but terrible with conversation, looked up when Adam returned. You were gone a while. That wheel giving you trouble? No, I helped someone who needed it. I will finish the wheel now. Adam picked up his tools and got back to work, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying the moment when Sarah had smiled at him, really smiled, and something in his chest had tightened in a way that was both uncomfortable and thrilling. He had been alone for 3 years now, ever since his engagement to Elizabeth had ended when she decided she wanted city life more than she wanted him. He had thought he was content with his work, his friends, his simple life in Twin Falls. But seeing Sarah, seeing her strength in the face of obvious hardship, seeing the way she refused to give up even when she was literally falling over from exhaustion, it woke something in him that had been sleeping for a long time. By the time he finished the wheel and closed up the stable for the night, the sky was streaked with purple and orange, and the air had taken on that crisp quality that Idaho evenings had even in summer. Adam walked to the small house he owned at the edge of town, heated up the stew he had made 2 days ago, and ate while watching the stars come out through his window. He thought about Sarah soaking in a hot bath at the boarding house, washing away the layers of road dust, maybe finally relaxing for the first time in who knew how long. He hoped she was getting good rest. He hoped she would give Twin Falls a real chance. He hoped, though he barely admitted it to himself, that she would stay. The next morning dawned clear and bright, and Adam found himself taking extra care with his appearance, combing his hair properly and putting on his good shirt instead of his work clothes. Peter gave him a strange look when he arrived at the stable looking like he was going to church on a weekday, but Adam ignored him. At precisely 9 o'clock, he knocked on the door of the boarding house. Mrs. Donnelly answered with a knowing smile that made him feel like he was 16 again. "She is in the parlor, and might I say, you clean up nice yourself, Adam Ellison." "I am just being presentable for introducing her to the Reverend," Adam said, but Mrs. Donnelly's smile only widened. Sarah was sitting on the settee, and Adam nearly stopped in his tracks. Cleaned up, with her dark brown hair pinned properly and wearing a simple but neat navy dress, she was genuinely beautiful. The road dust had hidden delicate features, high cheekbones, a graceful neck. But more than her physical appearance, it was the way she stood when she saw him, the way her whole face lit up with that smile again, that made his heart do something complicated in his chest. "Good morning," she said. "I hope I look more presentable than yesterday." "You look very nice," Adam managed, then cleared his throat. "Are you ready to meet Mrs. Patterson?" "I am nervous," she admitted as they walked down the boarding house steps. "What if she does not think I am qualified? What if the council does not want me? You taught for 2 years. You clearly know your letters well enough to speak properly. And you have something Mrs. Patterson does not have anymore: energy. She is 73 and loves the children, but she is tired. They will be thrilled to have someone younger taking over." They walked through Twin Falls as the town woke up fully for the day. Shopkeepers were opening their doors, greeting each other and Adam as he passed. Several gave Sarah curious looks, and Adam made a point of introducing her each time. "This is Sarah Foster, possibly our new schoolteacher." "Sarah, this is Mr. Chen. He runs the general store with his wife Martha, who you met yesterday. This is Dr. William Hayes, our town doctor. This is Sheriff Tom Morrison." The sheriff, a grizzled man in his 50s, shook Sarah's hand firmly. "Teacher, you say? That would be mighty good news. Mrs. Patterson has been doing her best, but we have nearly 20 children now in various ages, and it is too much for one elderly woman. You got references?" "I can write to the school board in Missouri where I taught," Sarah said, "though it may take some time for a response to return." "We will work something out," Adam assured her. "Come on, Mrs. Patterson is expecting us." The schoolhouse was a simple wooden building with big windows to let in light and a small cottage attached where the teacher lived. Mrs. Patterson answered their knock immediately, as if she had been waiting by the door. She was a tiny woman, bent with age, but her eyes were sharp and bright as she looked Sarah up and down. "So you are the young woman Adam told me about. Come in, come in. Let us see what you know." What followed was the most thorough oral examination Adam had ever witnessed. Mrs. Patterson quizzed Sarah on reading, writing, arithmetic, geography, history, and even a bit of science. Sarah answered every question confidently and even engaged Mrs. Patterson in a discussion about teaching methods that went well over Adam's head. Finally, Mrs. Patterson sat back in her chair with a satisfied nod. "You will do quite nicely. The children need someone with fresh ideas, and you clearly have both knowledge and passion for teaching. I will recommend you to the council at their meeting tonight. If they approve, and I am certain they will, you can start next Monday. That gives me a week to introduce you to the children and show you how we do things here." Sarah's face showed pure relief. "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. You will not regret this." "I am certain I will not," the old woman smiled. "And it will be nice to finally retire to my sister's house in Boise. I have been putting it off for 2 years now." Outside, Sarah turned to Adam with shining eyes. "I cannot believe it. A real job, a real chance to start over." "I told you," Adam said, pleased by her happiness. "Twin Falls takes care of its own." "I am not used to this," Sarah admitted as they walked back toward the main street. "Where I come from, people do not help without expecting something in return. There is always a price. The price here is that you become part of the community. You show up, you do your work, you help your neighbors when they need it. That is all anyone expects." Adam paused, then added carefully, "Though I hope you know, I do not expect anything from you personally. I helped you because it was right, not because I want something." She looked at him with those green eyes that seemed to see right through him. "I believe you. That is what makes you different from most men I have known." They reached the boarding house, and Sarah turned to face him on the porch. "Would you like to come to the council meeting tonight? I think I would feel better having a friendly face there." "I would be honored," Adam said. "The meeting is at 7 at the church. I will come by at 1:15 to walk you over. It is a plan." She smiled at him again, and Adam wondered if she knew what that smile did to him. "Thank you, Adam, for everything." He went back to work but accomplished very little, his mind too full of Sarah. Peter finally asked if he was feeling ill, since Adam had been staring at the same horseshoe for 10 minutes without actually doing anything with it. That evening, Adam put on his best clothes, the ones he usually reserved for Sunday church and town dances. He even put on the tie his mother had made him before she died. Looking at himself in the small mirror above his wash basin, he barely recognized the nervous man staring back at him. 3 years since Elizabeth had left, and he had not felt this way about anyone. Had not wanted to feel this way, honestly, because it had hurt too much when it ended. But Sarah was different. She was not looking for excitement or city life. She was looking for stability, for peace, for a place to belong. And maybe, just maybe, they could find those things together. He arrived at the boarding house at 6:45, and Mrs. Donnelly let him in with that same knowing smile. "She will be down in just a moment. Been fussing over her appearance for an hour now, which is a good sign if you ask me." "I did not ask you," Adam said, but he was smiling. When Sarah came down the stairs, she was wearing a deep green dress that matched her eyes, and her hair was arranged in a way that showed off her neck. She looked nervous and hopeful and beautiful. "Is this appropriate for a town council meeting?" she asked. "I only have 3 dresses and this is the nicest." "You look perfect," Adam said honestly. "They are going to love you. The town council consisted of Reverend Cole, Sheriff Morrison, Dr. Hayes, Martha Chen, and Samuel Brooks, who owned the largest ranch outside town. They met in the church basement, sitting around a long table that was usually used for community suppers. Adam sat in one of the chairs against the wall while Sarah stood before the council. She answered their questions with the same confidence she had shown with Mrs. Patterson, and Adam could see them warming to her one by one. By the time they asked her to wait outside while they deliberated, Adam was certain of the outcome. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, Reverend Cole came out smiling. "Miss Foster, the council is pleased to offer you the position of Twin Falls schoolteacher, starting next Monday. The position includes housing in the cottage attached to the schoolhouse and a salary of $30 per month, paid at the end of each month by the town treasurer." Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. $30. That is more than I was making in Missouri. Cost of living is higher out here, Sheriff Morrison said, joining them in the hallway. And good teachers are hard to find. We are grateful you came to Twin Falls. "Thank you," Sarah said, and Adam could hear the emotion in her voice. "Thank you all so much. I will work hard, I promise." "We know you will," Martha Chen said, patting Sarah's hand. "Welcome to Twin Falls, dear." Walking back to the boarding house afterwards, Sarah was practically glowing with happiness. "I cannot believe it. A job, a house, a real future. 2 days ago I was so tired and scared I could barely stand, and now everything is different." "You did this," Adam said. "You worked for it, you proved yourself. I just pointed you in the right direction. You did much more than that." Sarah stopped walking and turned to face him. The street lamp above them cast golden light across her face. "You saw me when I was at my absolute worst, covered in dirt and half-starved, and you treated me like I was worth helping. Do you know how rare that is? Most people, they would have walked right past me. Or worse, they would have seen an opportunity to take advantage of a desperate woman." "I am not most people," Adam said quietly. "No," Sarah agreed. "You are not." They stood there for a long moment, and Adam felt the pull between them, the attraction that had been building since yesterday. He wanted to kiss her. Wanted it so badly his hands were shaking with the effort of keeping them at his sides. But it was too soon, too fast. She had just escaped from one man trying to force her into something. The last thing she needed was another man pushing his attentions on her before she was ready. So instead, he stepped back and offered his arm in a perfectly proper gesture. "Let me walk you home." She took his arm, and they walked the last block in comfortable silence. At the boarding house door, she thanked him again, and he tipped his hat and said good night. But as he walked home alone, he knew with absolute certainty that he was falling in love with her. And that terrified him almost as much as it thrilled him. The next few days fell into a pleasant routine. Adam would find excuses to walk past the schoolhouse, where Sarah was learning the procedures from Mrs. Patterson. Sometimes she would see him and wave, and he would stop to talk for a few minutes, asking about her day, making sure she was settling in well. On Friday evening, there was a town dance at the church hall, something Twin Falls did once a month. Adam almost did not go, but Peter convinced him, saying he looked like a lovesick calf and might as well do something about it. The hall was full of people when Adam arrived. Families with children running around, young couples courting, older folks sitting along the walls and catching up on gossip. And there, standing near the refreshment table talking to Martha Chen, was Sarah. She wore the green dress again, and her hair was down, falling in waves past her shoulders. Adam had never seen it down before. It made her look younger, softer, and his breath caught in his throat. Martha saw him first and waved him over with an enthusiasm that made him suspicious. Adam, perfect timing. Sarah was just saying she does not know anyone well enough yet to feel comfortable dancing. You will dance with her, will not you? Sarah looked mortified. Martha, I did not mean to suggest anyone should feel obligated. I would love to dance with you, Adam interrupted. If you want to, that is. She met his eyes and smiled. I would like that very much. The band was playing a waltz and Adam led her onto the floor. He placed one hand at her waist, took her other hand in his, and began to move. She followed his lead easily, and he realized she was actually quite a good dancer. You have done this before, he observed. My mother insisted on proper education in all things, including dancing, Sarah said. Though I have not had much occasion to use it. My late husband did not care for dancing. His loss, Adam said, then worried that might have been too forward. But Sarah just laughed. Yes, it was. He was a good man in many ways, but not a fun one. Everything was always so serious with him. You do not seem to want to talk much about him, Adam noted carefully, because there is not much to say. We had an arranged marriage, more or less. Our families were neighbors. He needed a wife. I was of age. It was practical but not passionate. He treated me well enough, but when he died, I felt relief more than grief. That probably makes me a terrible person. It makes you honest, Adam said. And it makes me think you deserve something better this time around. She looked up at him, and the space between them felt charged with possibility. This time around, if you want there to be a this time around. I know it has only been a few days and you are just getting settled, but I would like to call on you properly. Court you if you are willing. The music swirled around them, and Sarah's face went through several emotions: surprise, uncertainty, and finally, cautious happiness. I am willing. But you should know, I am not looking for anything practical this time. If I ever marry again, it will be for love or not at all. Good, Adam said, and spun her in a turn that made her laugh. Because I am not a practical man when it comes to matters of the heart. They danced 3 more dances after that, and Adam did not care that people were starting to watch them, starting to whisper. Let them talk. He was courting Sarah Foster, and he was not going to hide it. Over the following weeks, Adam and Sarah settled into a courtship that felt both thrilling and comfortable. He would pick her up after school let out, and they would walk around town together, talking about everything and nothing. She told him about her childhood in Missouri, about her love of teaching, about her dreams of having a home that was truly hers. He told her about losing his mother, about taking over his father's livery business, about the loneliness that had crept into his life without him really noticing, until she appeared and chased it away. On Sundays, they would sit together in church, and afterward they would have lunch at the boarding house with Mrs. Donnelly. Once, Adam took Sarah on a picnic up into the mountains where they could see the whole valley spread out below them. They sat on a blanket and ate cold chicken and fresh bread, and Sarah told him she had never been happier. I keep waiting for something to go wrong, she admitted, lying back on the blanket and looking up at the sky. This all feels too good to be real. It is real, Adam promised, lying down beside her. And nothing is going to go wrong. But even as he said it, he felt a small twist of anxiety. Because life had taught him that when things seemed perfect, that was usually when the universe decided to throw a challenge your way. The challenge came on a Wednesday afternoon in late September, 6 weeks after Sarah had arrived in Twin Falls. Adam was at the livery, shoeing a horse, when Sheriff Morrison came striding in with a grim expression. Adam, we might have a problem. Man rode into town this morning asking questions about Sarah. Says he is her brother-in-law, looking for his sister-in-law who ran away after his brother died. Adam dropped the horse's hoof and straightened up, his heart suddenly pounding. Richard Foster. That is the name he gave. He is staying at the hotel, been asking around all morning. Someone probably already told him she is here. Where is Sarah now? Still at the school. Classes just let out. Adam was already moving, untying his apron and grabbing his hat. I need to get to her before he does. Adam. The sheriff caught his arm. Legally, I cannot do anything unless he breaks the law. If he wants to talk to her, that is his right. His right. Adam felt anger surge through him. He tried to force her into marriage. He hurt her. Do you have proof of that? Witnesses? Because otherwise, it is her word against his, and the law is not always kind to women in these situations. Adam pulled free. Then I will make sure she is not alone with him. He will not hurt her again. He ran to the schoolhouse, his boots pounding on the wooden sidewalks. He could see Sarah through the window, tidying up her classroom after the children had left. She looked so peaceful, so content, and he hated that Richard Foster was about to shatter that peace. He burst through the door, breathing hard. "Sarah, we need to talk." She looked up, startled by his urgent tone. "What is wrong?" "Richard is here, in Twin Falls. He is looking for you." All the color drained from her face. She gripped the edge of her desk. "No, how did he find me?" "I do not know, but he is at the hotel. The sheriff says he cannot do anything unless Richard breaks the law. He will try to take me back." Sarah's voice was shaking now. "He will say I owe it to Thomas's memory that I belong to the Foster family. He will make it sound reasonable and proper, and people will believe him because he is a man and I am just a woman who ran away." Adam crossed the room and took her hands in his. They were ice cold. "Listen to me. You do not belong to anyone but yourself. And I will not let him take you anywhere you do not want to go. You cannot stop him if he has the law on his side. Then we will change the law's perspective." Adam took a deep breath, about to suggest something he had been thinking about for weeks but had not planned to say yet. "Marry me." Sarah stared at him. "What, marry me? Right now, today, if you are my wife, he has no claim on you at all. You would be legally bound to me, not to his family." "Adam, that is crazy. We have only known each other 6 weeks. I know. And I know this is not how either of us wanted this to happen. But Sarah, I love you. I have loved you since that first day when you stepped off the stagecoach and looked at the world like you were ready to fight it with your bare hands if you had to. I was going to court you properly for months, ask you properly, give you the proposal you deserve. But if marrying me now means you stay safe and free, then I am asking now." Tears were streaming down Sarah's face. "I love you too. I have been so scared to say it because it felt too soon, too fast. But I love you, Adam. Then marry me, not because you have to, but because you want to, because we choose each other." She nodded, wiping at her tears. "Yes, yes, I will marry you." They ran to the church, holding hands like children, and found Reverend Cole in his office. Adam explained the situation quickly, and the Reverend's expression turned serious. "I will marry you right now," he said, "but you need witnesses. Let me send for Martha and the doctor." While they waited for the witnesses to arrive, Sarah paced the small office. "What if Richard makes trouble anyway? What if he claims I was already promised to him or that I am not in my right mind?" "Then we will deal with it together," Adam said. "You are not alone anymore, Sarah. Whatever comes, we face it together." Martha and Dr. Hayes arrived within minutes, both looking concerned but supportive. They stood as witnesses while Reverend Cole performed a quick but legitimate marriage ceremony. Adam did not have a ring, so he took off the leather cord he wore around his wrist, a bracelet his mother had made him, and tied it around Sarah's finger as a temporary symbol. "I, Adam Ellison, take you, Sarah Foster, to be my lawfully wedded wife," he said, looking into her eyes and meaning every word with his entire being. "I promise to stand by you, protect you, and love you for the rest of my life. I, Sarah Foster, take you, Adam Ellison, to be my lawfully wedded husband," she said, her voice steady despite her tears. I promise to stand by you, trust you, and love you for the rest of my life. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, Reverend Cole said. Adam, you may kiss your bride. Adam had imagined their first kiss many times, but never like this, rushed and desperate in the Reverend's office with danger lurking. But when his lips met Sarah's, everything else fell away. She tasted like salt from her tears and something sweet, and when she kissed him back, he felt it all the way to his soul. We need to get the marriage registered immediately, Martha said practically. Make it official in the town records before Richard can cause problems. They did exactly that, stopping at the courthouse to file the marriage certificate. The clerk, a thin man named Peter Winters, raised his eyebrows at the rushed nature of it all but filled out the paperwork properly. By the time they finished, it was nearly dinner time. He will come looking for you, Adam said to Sarah. We should go to him first on our terms, she nodded, squaring her shoulders. You are right. Let us get this over with. The hotel was a 2-story building in the center of town with a small lobby and dining room. The clerk at the desk directed them to room 7 on the 2nd floor. Adam knocked firmly, and after a moment the door opened. Richard Foster was a tall man with thinning hair and a soft middle that spoke of comfortable living. He had small eyes that reminded Adam of a pig, and when he saw Sarah, those eyes lit up with a possessive gleam that made Adam want to punch him immediately. Sarah, finally. Richard reached for her, but Adam stepped between them. She is not going anywhere with you. Richard looked Adam up and down dismissively. And who are you, her husband? We were married this afternoon. She is Sarah Ellison now, and you have no claim on her whatsoever. For a moment, Richard just stared. Then his face turned red. That is impossible. You are lying. We have the marriage certificate filed with the town, Sarah said, stepping forward so she stood beside Adam, not behind him. I am married, Richard. Even if I were not, I would not go with you. I do not want to marry you. I never did. You do not have a choice. Thomas would have wanted you to stay in the family. It is your duty. Thomas is dead, Sarah said flatly, and he never made me promise any such thing. You decided that is what you wanted and you thought you could force me. But I am not your property, Richard. I never was. You ungrateful woman. Do you know how much trouble you have caused? How embarrassing it has been for the family that you ran away like a thief in the night? I ran because you tried to force yourself on me, Sarah said, and Adam felt his fists clench. You cornered me in my own home and told me I would be your wife whether I wanted to be or not. You put your hands on me, and when I fought back, you bruised my wrist so badly I could barely move it for a week. So yes, I ran, and I would do it again. You are making things up. I never touched you. I am not making anything up, and we both know it. Sarah's voice was steel. But it does not matter anymore. I have started a new life here. I have a job I love, friends who care about me, and a husband I chose. You need to go back to Missouri and leave me alone. Richard's face went through several colors. This is not over. I will find a lawyer. I will prove this marriage is a sham. You will do nothing, Sheriff Morrison said from behind them. Adam turned to see the sheriff standing at the top of the stairs, arms crossed. I have been listening to this whole conversation, and I heard Miss Sarah, beg pardon, Mrs. Ellison, describe you assaulting her back in Missouri. Now, I cannot arrest you for something that happened in another state, but I can arrest you for threatening behavior right here in Idaho territory. So I suggest you leave Twin Falls on tomorrow's stagecoach and do not come back. Richard sputtered, but faced with the sheriff's authority and the united front of Adam and Sarah, he had no ground to stand on. This is not right. She belonged to my family. People do not belong to other people, Adam said quietly, dangerously. That is the kind of thinking that needs to die. Sarah is her own person and she chose me. Get used to disappointment. They left Richard standing in his hotel room doorway, red-faced and impotent in his anger. Sarah was shaking by the time they reached the street, and Adam pulled her into his arms right there in public, not caring who saw. "You were so strong," he murmured into her hair. "I am so proud of you." "I was terrified," she admitted, "but I meant every word. I am not going back to that life. I would rather die. You will never have to go back. You are safe now. You are home." That night they moved Sarah's few belongings from the schoolhouse to Adam's house. It was a simple place, just 3 rooms, a bedroom, a kitchen, and a sitting room, but it was clean and well built, and it was theirs. Sarah walked through it with wonder, touching the furniture, looking out the windows at the view of the mountains in the distance. "This is really my home now," she said softly. "Our home," Adam corrected. "Everything I have is yours now." She turned to him, and in her eyes he saw love and trust and something that looked like awe. "I cannot believe how much my life has changed in 6 weeks. I went from being completely alone and terrified to being married to a good man who loves me. It feels like a dream. If it is a dream, I do not ever want to wake up." Adam crossed to her and took her hands. "Sarah, I know this happened fast and not the way either of us planned. But I meant every word I said in that church. I love you, and I will spend the rest of my life proving it to you." "You already have proven it," she said. "You saw me at my absolute worst and treated me with kindness and respect. You helped me without expecting anything in return. You stood between me and a man who wanted to hurt me. Adam, you saved me in more ways than one." "You saved me too," he said. "I did not even realize how lonely I was until you showed up and filled all the empty spaces." She reached up and touched his face, her fingers gentle on his cheek. "Make love to me, Adam. Not because we are supposed to now that we are married, but because I want you, because I choose you." He kissed her then, slow and deep, pouring everything he felt into it. She kissed him back with equal passion, her arms coming up around his neck. He picked her up, and she laughed against his mouth as he carried her to the bedroom. They made love slowly, carefully, learning each other's bodies and responses. Adam had been with women before, but never like this, never with his whole heart and soul engaged. Every touch, every kiss, every whispered endearment was a promise, a covenant, a declaration of forever. Afterward they lay tangled together in the sheets, Sarah's head on Adam's chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "I love you," she said sleepily. "I know I have said it already tonight, but I want to say it again. I love you, Adam Ellison." "I love you too, Sarah Ellison," he said, testing out her new name and loving the sound of it. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start our real life together." She fell asleep in his arms, and Adam lay awake a while longer, feeling the weight and warmth of her, listening to her breathing. He thought about the moment he had first seen her, covered in dust and barely standing, and how something in him had recognized her immediately. Not as someone to save or fix, but as someone who would complete him, who would make his life richer and fuller and more meaningful. The next morning, they woke to news that Richard Foster had left on the early stagecoach, heading back east. Sheriff Morrison came by to tell them personally, and added that he had made sure Richard understood that if he ever returned to Twin Falls, he would find himself arrested for harassment. "You two did good yesterday," the sheriff said, standing up to him like that. Showing him he could not push you around. That is how you build a good marriage, by standing together against whatever comes. Over the following months, Adam and Sarah settled into married life with an ease that surprised them both. She continued teaching, beloved by her students and their parents alike. He continued running the livery, with Sarah often stopping by after school to help with paperwork or simply to spend time with him while he worked. They had their first real argument 6 weeks after the wedding, When Sarah wanted to use some of her saved salary to buy new curtains for the house, and Adam thought it was an unnecessary expense. It escalated until they were both shouting, and then suddenly, Sarah started laughing. "What is funny?" Adam demanded, still annoyed. "We are arguing about curtains," she said, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "Curtains, Adam. After everything we have been through, after standing up to Richard and completely changing our lives, we are having a serious argument about curtains." Adam felt his anger deflate into laughter too. "You are right. That is ridiculous. Get the curtains," he said, pulling her into his arms. "Get whatever you want for the house. Make it yours, make it ours." She bought the curtains, pale blue ones that let in the light but gave them privacy, and Adam had to admit they did make the house feel more like a home. Winter came to Twin Falls with heavy snow and bitter cold. The school closed for 2 weeks in January when the temperature dropped so low that it was dangerous for the children to walk to the building. Sarah and Adam spent those 2 weeks mostly in bed, keeping each other warm and talking for hours about everything and nothing. "I want children," Sarah said one night lying in Adam's arms. "I did not think I did when I was married to Thomas, but with you I want everything. Children, a life, growing old together." "I want that too," Adam said. "A house full of children, loud and messy and wonderful. Teaching them to ride horses and do their letters. Watching them grow up here where there is space and freedom." "How many children?" Sarah asked, turning to look at him. "As many as we are blessed with," Adam said. 2, 4, 8, I do not care. As long as you are healthy and happy, that is all that matters." In March, Sarah came to the livery in the middle of the day, something she never did during school hours. Adam looked up from the horse he was grooming, immediately concerned. "What is wrong? Are you sick?" "No," Sarah said, and she was smiling so brightly she practically glowed. "Adam, I am pregnant. Dr. Hayes confirmed it this morning. We are going to have a baby." Adam dropped the curry comb and crossed to her in 3 long strides, picking her up and spinning her around while she laughed. "A baby?" "Really? Really? Due in October?" "October," Adam repeated, setting her down gently as if she might break. "That is only 7 months away. We need to prepare. We need to make the bedroom bigger or add another room. We need a cradle. We need everything." "We have time," Sarah said, amused by his sudden panic. "Women have been having babies for thousands of years, Adam. We will figure it out." But Adam was already planning, already thinking about how to expand the house, how to make sure Sarah and the baby had everything they needed. He threw himself into the project with single-minded focus, working on the house every evening after the livery closed and all day on Sundays after church. The town rallied around them. Mrs. Donnelly organized the women to sew baby clothes. Martha Chen made sure Sarah was eating properly, bringing her special foods that were supposed to be good for pregnant women. Dr. Hayes checked on Sarah weekly, monitoring her health and the baby's development. By the time summer arrived, Adam had added a new room to the house, a nursery with big windows and pale yellow walls that Sarah had painted herself despite his protests that she should not be climbing on ladders. The cradle he built with his own hands, spending hours making sure every piece of wood was smooth and safe. Sarah bloomed in pregnancy. Her face filled out, losing the last traces of the gaunt look she had arrived with. Her hair grew thick and shiny. She glowed with health and happiness, and Adam fell more in love with her every single day. In August, they had a scare when Sarah started bleeding. Dr. Hayes ordered her to bed rest for 2 weeks, and Adam nearly lost his mind with worry. He hired Peter to run the livery so he could stay home with Sarah, barely leaving her side except to fetch water or food. "I am fine," Sarah kept insisting, but Adam could hear the fear in her voice. Women have spotting sometimes. Dr. Hayes said it does not always mean something is wrong. But it could mean something is wrong, Adam said. So you are staying in bed until he says otherwise. The bleeding stopped after 3 days, and Dr. Hayes gave Sarah permission to resume light activities. But the scare had shaken both of them, reminding them that life was precious and nothing was guaranteed. "If something happens to me," Sarah said one night, lying in bed with Adam's hand on her belly, feeling the baby kick, "promise me you will take care of our child. Teach them I love them." "Nothing is going to happen to you," Adam said fiercely. "I will not allow it. You are going to be fine, the baby is going to be fine, and we are all going to live long, happy lives together." "You cannot promise that. No one can. I can and I will. Sarah, you are the strongest person I know. You survived losing your first husband, running away from his brother, traveling halfway across the country alone. You are not going to let something like childbirth stop you." She laughed, though it sounded watery. "When you put it that way, I suppose childbirth does not seem so scary." "Exactly. You are going to do great." On October 15th, 3 days passed when Dr. Hayes had predicted, Sarah's labor began. Adam was at the livery when Peter came running with the message that Mrs. Donnelly had sent for the doctor, and Adam needed to come home immediately. He ran the whole way, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. He found Sarah in their bedroom, pacing and breathing hard through contractions, with Mrs. Donnelly and Martha both there to help. "How long has she been in labor?" Adam asked, going straight to Sarah's side. "Since early this morning," Mrs. Donnelly said. "She did not want to bother you at work until it got more serious." "Sarah, you should have sent for me immediately," Adam said, taking her hand. It was slick with sweat and gripped his fingers so hard it hurt. "You were working," Sarah panted. "I did not want to interrupt for nothing. Our baby being born is not nothing. I am staying right here." "Most men do not stay for the birth," Martha said. "They wait outside or go to the saloon." "I am not most men. I am staying." What followed were the longest hours of Adam's life. He stayed by Sarah's side through every contraction, letting her squeeze his hand, wiping her forehead with cool cloths, murmuring encouragement when she said she could not do this anymore. Dr. Hayes was calm and competent, checking on Sarah's progress and assuring them everything was proceeding normally, though slowly. As night fell and the contractions intensified, Sarah began to cry. "It hurts so much. I cannot do this." "Yes, you can," Adam said firmly. "You are the woman who traveled halfway across the country alone. You are the woman who stood up to Richard Foster. You are the woman who has faced down every challenge life has thrown at you. This baby does not stand a chance against you." She laughed through her tears. "You always know what to say." "That is because I know you. I know how strong you are." Just past midnight, Dr. Hayes announced that it was time to push. Adam supported Sarah's shoulders while she bore down, her face red and straining, her hand crushing his. He murmured encouragement, told her she was doing great, that he loved her, that they were almost there. And then, after one final push that left Sarah screaming and Adam crying, a baby's wail filled the room. "It is a boy," Dr. Hayes announced, holding up the squirming, crying infant. "A healthy baby boy." Sarah collapsed back against the pillows, crying and laughing at the same time. The doctor placed the baby on her chest after cleaning him quickly, and Sarah looked down at their son with an expression of such pure love that Adam felt his heart might explode. "A boy," she whispered, touching the baby's tiny fingers. "We have a son." Adam reached out and stroked the baby's head covered in downy dark hair. His son. Their son. A perfect tiny human that they had created together out of love. "What should we name him?" Sarah asked, looking up at Adam. They had discussed names but never settled on one, both wanting to wait until they met the baby to decide. Adam looked at his son, who had stopped crying and was now looking around with unfocused eyes, and felt a name settle into place. "William," he said, "after my father. William Thomas Ellison, if you want to honor your first husband too." Sarah's eyes filled with fresh tears. "William Thomas Ellison. It is perfect." Over the next weeks, they settled into the exhausting, wonderful chaos of life with a newborn. William was a good baby, only crying when he was hungry or needed changing, but the lack of sleep still wore on them both. Adam took over as many of the household chores as he could, bringing meals from the boarding house so Sarah did not have to cook, doing the laundry himself, even though he was terrible at it. Sarah took a month off from teaching, with Mrs. Patterson coming out of retirement temporarily to cover her classes. But by mid-November, Sarah was back at school, bringing William with her. The children were fascinated by the baby, and Sarah made him part of the lessons, teaching the younger students how to be gentle and the older students about child development and care. The first time Adam came home to find Sarah nursing William while helping a student with her arithmetic homework at the same time, he realized she was not just strong, she was extraordinary. She had taken everything life had thrown at her and turned it into something beautiful. William grew quickly, reaching all his milestones early. He rolled over at 3 months, sat up at 5 months, and by his first birthday he was pulling himself up on furniture and trying to walk. He had Sarah's green eyes and Adam's dark hair, and a personality that was all his own, curious and determined and affectionate. On William's first birthday, they had a party with half the town attending. Mrs. Donnelly baked a cake. The children from school brought gifts they had made themselves, and Sheriff Morrison whittled William a little wooden horse that became his favorite toy. "Look at what we built," Sarah said to Adam that night, after everyone had left and William was asleep in his crib. A year ago he did not even exist, and now here he is, this whole person with thoughts and feelings and preferences. It is amazing. "You are amazing," Adam said, pulling her close. "You brought him into this world, you keep him healthy and happy. You are an incredible mother, Sarah." "We are a good team," she said, kissing him. "You are a wonderful father, patient and loving and involved in a way a lot of men are not. He is my son. Why would not I be involved?" Adam genuinely did not understand men who treated child rearing as exclusively women's work. He loved playing with William, loved teaching him things, loved watching him discover the world. When William was 18 months old, Sarah came to Adam with news that she was pregnant again. "I know it is sooner than we planned," she said nervously. "But Dr. Hayes says I am healthy, and there is no reason this pregnancy should not go well too." "That is wonderful news," Adam said, meaning it. "William will have a little brother or sister close in age. They will be good friends." The second pregnancy was easier than the first. Sarah had less morning sickness, and she continued teaching almost until her due date. In June of 1885, she gave birth to their second child, a daughter they named Emma Grace Ellison. Emma had Sarah's face and Adam's brown eyes, and from the moment she arrived, she had her father completely wrapped around her tiny finger. With 2 children, the house felt full and chaotic and perfect. William was fascinated by his baby sister, always wanting to help take care of her, bringing her toys when she cried. Adam expanded the house again, adding another bedroom so the children would have separate spaces as they grew older. The years passed in a blur of milestones and memories. William started school when he was 5, sitting in his mother's classroom and making her proud with how quickly he learned. Emma was walking by 10 months and talking in full sentences by 2 years old, a bright and precocious child who asked endless questions about everything. When William was 8 and Emma was 6, Sarah came to Adam with a confession. "I think I might be pregnant again." "You think or you know?" Adam asked, smiling. "I know. I just wanted to ease you into the idea since we already have our hands full with 2. "Our hands are never too full for another child," Adam said, kissing her. 3 children sounds perfect to me." In November of 1890, they welcomed their 3rd child, another son they named James Patrick Ellison. Jamie, as they called him, was a calm, sweet baby who rarely cried and seemed content to just watch his older siblings with wide eyes. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Adam's livery business grew as Twin Falls expanded, and he eventually hired 2 more assistants to help manage the work. Sarah continued teaching, beloved by generations of students who remembered her fondly long after they had grown up and had children of their own. William grew into a responsible young man who loved working with horses like his father. Emma became a voracious reader who declared she wanted to be a writer when she grew up. Jamie was the gentle peacemaker among the siblings, always finding ways to resolve their squabbles before they escalated. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Adam surprised Sarah with a real wedding ring, a gold band with a small diamond that had cost him 3 months of savings. They went back to the church and had Reverend Cole perform a renewal of their vows, with their 3 children standing as witnesses. "I, Adam Ellison, still take you, Sarah Ellison, to be my wife," Adam said, sliding the ring onto her finger. "I promise to continue standing by you, protecting you, and loving you for the rest of my life." "I, Sarah Ellison, still take you, Adam Ellison, to be my husband," Sarah said, tears streaming down her face. "I promise to continue standing by you, trusting you, and loving you for the rest of my life." "You are still married," Reverend Cole said with a smile, "but now with better jewelry." Everyone laughed, and then they had a party at the church hall with the whole town invited. People gave speeches about how Adam and Sarah were an example of what true love looked like, how they had built something beautiful together, how Twin Falls was lucky to have them. 10 years, Sarah said that night, lying in Adam's arms. "Has it really been that long? Feels like yesterday and forever ago at the same time," Adam said. "I remember the first moment I saw you like it was this morning, covered in dust, barely standing but so strong, so determined. I fell in love with you right then, I think. I fell in love with you when you helped me without asking for anything in return," Sarah said. "When you saw past the dirt and exhaustion to the person underneath. No one had ever done that before." "Their loss is my gain," Adam said, kissing her forehead. "I got the best thing that ever happened to me the day you stepped off that stagecoach." The children grew older. William turned 16 and started seriously courting a girl named Anna, the daughter of the town doctor. Emma, at 14, won a writing contest sponsored by the territorial newspaper. Jamie, at 11, announced he wanted to be a veterinarian and started reading every book about animal medicine he could find. Sarah and Adam grew older too, their dark hair gaining threads of silver, lines appearing around their eyes from years of laughter and sunshine. But they were still as in love as the day they married, still reaching for each other's hands when they walked down the street, still stealing kisses in the kitchen when they thought the children were not looking. On a warm summer evening when Adam was 42 and Sarah was 39, they sat on their porch watching the sunset paint the Idaho mountains in shades of gold and purple. The children were inside, William helping Emma with her algebra and Jamie reading one of his animal books. From inside, they could hear their voices, their laughter, the sounds of the life they had built together. "You ever think about what your life would have been like if Richard had succeeded?" Adam asked quietly. "If I had not been working across the street that day, if I had not seen you?" Sarah took his hand and squeezed it. "I try not to think about it because it is too horrible to imagine. I would have either died trying to escape him or become a shadow of myself, trapped in a life I did not want. But you were there. You did see me, and you gave me a chance at real happiness." "You gave me the same thing," Adam said. "I was just going through the motions before you arrived, working, sleeping, existing, but not really living. You brought color and meaning back into my world." "We saved each other," Sarah said. "That is the best kind of love story, is it not? When two people who need each other find each other at exactly the right moment." "It is the only kind of love story I am interested in," Adam agreed. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared behind the mountains and the stars began to appear. From inside, they heard William laugh at something Emma said, and Jamie's voice asking if anyone wanted to hear an interesting fact about horses. "Our children are going to leave us eventually," Sarah said. "William will probably marry Anna in a few years. Emma will go off to college if we can afford it. Jamie will follow his dreams wherever they lead him, and then it will just be us again." "That does not scare me," Adam said. "I fell in love with you before the children existed. I will still love you after they are grown and gone. Just you and me, growing old together, exactly like we planned." "Growing old together," Sarah repeated, smiling. "When I stepped off that stagecoach covered in dust and barely able to stand, I never imagined I would end up here. With a home, a family, a man who loves me not for what I can give him but for who I am. It feels like a miracle." "You are the miracle," Adam said. "You took all the hardship and pain life threw at you and turned it into something beautiful. You could have become bitter or broken, but instead, you became stronger. That is not luck or chance. That is who you are." Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder and Adam wrapped his arm around her, holding her close as the night deepened around them. Inside their home, their children continued with their evening, secure in the knowledge that they were loved and safe. And on the porch, Adam and Sarah sat together, still as in love as they had been on that first day, still choosing each other every single day. Years continued to pass, bringing more changes and challenges. William married Anna when he was 20, and they gave Adam and Sarah their first grandchild, a little girl named Rose, 2 years later. Emma got a scholarship to a women's college in the East, where she studied literature and writing. Jamie did become a veterinarian, studying under Dr. Hayes and eventually taking over the practice when the older man retired. Sarah continued teaching until she was 55, when arthritis in her hands made writing on the chalkboard too difficult. The town threw her a retirement party that lasted 3 days, with former students coming from all over Idaho Territory and beyond to honor her. There were speeches and tears and laughter as people shared stories of how she had changed their lives, how she had seen potential in them when no one else had, how she had given them the education and confidence to pursue their dreams. Adam sold the livery stable when he was 58, passing it on to Peter, who had worked for him for 30 years and knew the business inside and out. With their children grown and their working years behind them, Adam and Sarah finally had time to just be together, to travel a little, to visit their grandchildren, to enjoy the life they had built. They took a trip to the Pacific Ocean, something Sarah had always wanted to see. They visited Emma in her eastern city, marveling at the tall buildings and crowded streets, but both agreeing they preferred the open spaces of Idaho. They spent long afternoons sitting on their porch, reading and talking and watching the world go by. On their 40th wedding anniversary, their children and grandchildren threw them a massive party. William and Anna were there with their 4 children. Emma came from the East with her husband, a publisher she had met through her writing. Jamie brought his wife, the daughter of a rancher and their twin boys. The house was full of noise and laughter and love. 40 years, Emma said in her speech, standing in the middle of the crowded living room. Most people do not get 40 years with their true love. But Mama and Papa, you two found each other when you needed each other most. Papa, you saw past the road dust to the beautiful, strong woman underneath. Mama, you saw past your own fear and exhaustion to trust in the possibility of real love. And from that moment of recognition and choice, you built this. All of us. This family, this home, this legacy of love. Thank you for showing us what real partnership looks like. Thank you for teaching us that love is both a feeling and a choice, and that choosing each other every day is what makes it last. There was not a dry eye in the room, including Adam's and Sarah's. Adam stood and pulled Sarah up with him, holding her close as he addressed their family. When I first saw your mother step off that stagecoach, covered in dust and barely standing, I saw beauty beyond any surface, he said, his voice rough with emotion. I saw strength and determination and a fire that nothing could extinguish. And every single day since then, I have thanked God that I was working across the street that afternoon, that I looked up at the right moment, that I had the courage to walk over and help her. Because helping her led to loving her, and loving her led to all of this. Every good thing in my life comes back to her. Sarah was crying openly now. And every good thing in my life comes back to you. You saved me, Adam, not just from Richard, but from a life without hope or joy. You gave me everything I had ever dreamed of and things I did not even know to dream about. You have been my partner, my best friend, my great love. These 40 years have been the happiest of my life. They kissed then, in front of their children and grandchildren, and everyone cheered and clapped. The party continued long into the night, with stories and music and dancing. Adam and Sarah danced together just like they had at that first town dance 40 years ago, moving slowly to the music, lost in each other's eyes. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Sarah and Adam stood on their porch one more time, watching their family depart. The house that had felt so big when it was just the two of them now felt full of memories and love, every room holding a piece of their story. We did good, Sarah said, leaning against Adam. We did great, Adam corrected. Look at what we made. 3 incredible children, 7 grandchildren so far, a home full of love. Not bad for a dusty woman and the man who saw past her surface. Sarah laughed. Not bad at all. They went to bed that night holding hands, just as they had every night for 40 years. And in the morning they woke up together, ready to face another day, another year, however much time they had left. Because they had learned that love was not just about the big, dramatic moments, though they had certainly had those. Love was also about the small, everyday choices, to be patient, to be kind, to see the best in each other, to stand together against whatever came. Adam Ellison had looked up from a wagon wheel repair on an ordinary afternoon and seen a woman covered in road dust step off a stagecoach. But where everyone else saw only the dirt and exhaustion, he saw the beauty underneath. He saw the woman she truly was, the woman she could become with someone standing beside her. And Sarah Foster, running from a past that wanted to cage her, had looked into the eyes of a stranger offering help and seen something she had never expected to find. Safety, respect, the possibility of real love. From those first moments had grown a lifetime of love, a family, a legacy that would continue through their children and their children's children. The story of how they met became family legend, told and retold at gatherings, embellished and refined, but always ending the same way. She came covered in road dust. He saw beauty beyond any surface. They chose each other, and they lived happily ever after. The years continued to pass gently. Adam and Sarah grew older with grace, their bodies slowing but their love never diminishing. They celebrated 50 years of marriage surrounded by their ever-growing family. William's children had started having children of their own, making Adam and Sarah great-grandparents. On quiet evenings, they still sat on their porch, holding hands and watching the sun set over the Idaho mountains they both loved. They talked about their life together, remembering every detail, treasuring every memory. "If you could go back and do it all again," Sarah asked one evening when she was 71 and Adam was 74, "would you change anything?" Adam thought about it seriously, then shook his head. "Not a single thing. Every moment, good and bad, led us here, led us to this. Even Richard showing up, even that," Adam said. "Because it made me realize how much I loved you. It made me fight for you. It gave us the push we needed to stop courting and start living as husband and wife. Would I have preferred to propose to you properly, with a ring and romance and time? Sure, but I do not regret how it actually happened. We got each other. That is all that matters." Sarah squeezed his hand, her grip still strong despite her arthritis. "I love you, Adam Ellison. I have loved you from that first moment you caught me when I stumbled off the stagecoach. And I will love you until my last breath and beyond. And I love you, Sarah Ellison. You are still the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. No amount of dust could ever hide that." They sat together as the stars came out, two people who had found each other against all odds and built something lasting and true. Their story was simple in some ways, just two people choosing to love each other every day. But in that simplicity was something profound, something that their children and grandchildren would remember and try to emulate in their own relationships. Because real love was not just about the fairy tale beginning, though theirs had certainly been dramatic. Real love was about the decades that followed, the everyday moments of choosing each other, standing together, building a life piece by piece. It was about seeing past the surface, past the imperfections and struggles to the beautiful soul underneath. Adam had seen Sarah's soul that first day, covered in dust and exhausted. And she had seen his, the kindness and strength that would define their life together. That recognition, that choice to help and be helped, to love and be loved, had changed everything. As they finally went inside for the night, walking slowly with Adam's arm around Sarah's waist and her head on his shoulder, they passed the mirror in the hallway. For just a moment, Sarah thought she saw their younger selves reflected back. Adam tall and strong and dark-haired, herself dusty and desperate but hopeful. Then the image resolved into what they were now, older and slower but with eyes that still lit up when they looked at each other. "Still beautiful," Adam whispered, as if he could read her thoughts. "You will always be beautiful to me." And in that moment, Sarah knew with absolute certainty that she was the luckiest woman alive. Not because her life had been easy, it had not been. Not because everything had gone according to plan, it had not. But because 53 years ago she had stepped off a stagecoach covered in road dust, and a good man had seen past the surface to the woman underneath. He had seen her, really seen her, and that had made all the difference. They went to bed that night as they had every night for more than half a century, lying close together, hands intertwined, hearts beating in rhythm. Tomorrow would bring whatever it brought, but they would face it together, just as they always had. And that, Sarah thought as sleep claimed her, was the truest definition of happily ever after. Not a perfect life without challenges, but a perfect partner to face those challenges with. Someone who saw you at your worst and loved you anyway. Someone who chose you every single day. She had found that in Adam, and he had found it in her. Two dusty travelers who had found each other on a street in Twin Falls, Idaho, and built a life that was worth every struggle, every challenge, every moment. The road dust had washed away long ago, but the beauty Adam had seen that first day, that remained, growing deeper and richer with every passing year. And it would remain long after they were both gone, in the children they had raised and the love story they had lived and the legacy they had left behind. A legacy that began with a simple truth. Sometimes the most beautiful things in life come covered in road dust. You just have to be willing to look past the surface and see what really matters underneath.